everyone, and saying hello. How is everybody today? Hope everybody who wanted to go to sleep has done so, and that I'm not keeping anyone awake. But for night owls, welcome. I'm on a different side of the continent, so it's not late for me, but it's midday, and I've spent the morning trying to keep my children fed and on task for their homeschool learning. So I am glad to be here. You know, sometimes your life can be shaped by people telling you what they think you can't do. And I've seen some people say they were told they couldn't be engineers or they couldn't be chemists, and so they rigorously pursued those professions and found professional success. I was told that I couldn't get married and have children, but I did, and I showed them. And now I'm entering probably a stage of my life more where I want to pursue my other interests as well, while still enjoying my beautiful family that I made, I organized and helped orchestrate for myself and for them. So the first thing I'd like to say today is that, hooray, Joe Biden has done a couple of good things that are being reported today. One, he has highlighted the fact that America's intelligence agencies have identified white supremacy as being the biggest threat to American safety in terms of domestic terror attacks caused by white supremacists who are organizing with the intent to execute Americans and overthrow the American government. Of course, Tucker Carlson wants to lie about what Joe Biden has said because it's politically expedient for Tucker Carlson to lie. Politically and financially expedient, meaning that he's paid millions of dollars by Rupert Murdoch and Lachlan Murdoch for continuing to feed delusion to their audience, which also tends to be the Republican political base, which feeds into a self-perpetuating, symbiotic, mutually rewarding relationship between Republicans and Murdoch media. Hey, we have some ladies. Hello to Molly, Brenda, and Kimchi. Nice to see you. Love it. Love it. So yes, Tucker Carlson can go kick rocks, but I also like to throw it out to the audience to see if they've come across any ways to try and curtail his power and influence, because it is a threat to the stability, happiness, social cohesion, financial and economic stability of the rest of America. We've seen how willing white supremacists are to throw everyone under the bus. We can't just ignore them safely. We can't just pretend they don't exist. They sometimes get extra power even while we ignore them. They fester away in their own, not corner, their own sort of half of the room, and the consequences spill out, giving us anti-maskers, anti-vaxxers, people who are primed to sabotage public health using highly individualist rhetoric that makes them dysfunctional members of society and dysfunctional members of their own communities, their own towns, their own cities. I love everybody saying hello to each other in the comments. It means we are a community of like-minded people who are keen to join in with some straight talk about threats and threats posed by domestic terror cells of white supremacist militias, Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, that Trump supporters, a bulk of them have been very, very powerfully conditioned to believe in the overthrow of democracy now. They're happy to embrace totalitarianism because they have so strongly identified Democrats as the enemy on baseless charges that Democrats are communists. Now, I do think there's a section of the public, a very minor section of people who do go a bit wacky with their lack of historical knowledge, and they pretend to themselves that Stalin was great, that Lenin was great, that communism is super, and the millions of corpses that say otherwise don't really count. So I don't mind raising the data points of history that speak to the dysfunctional nature of communism as an attempted system of governance. I'm always happy to denounce it quite clearly and openly, because I think that's at least a point of commonality we can find between any Republicans with some measure of decent intentions. And I can see the temptation to be generally dismissive of Republicans and what they're like. I think sometimes we've attributed too many benign or benevolent motives to Republicans, when often a lot of their ideology has at its core deprived Black people of government resources, even though they deserve equal protection under the law, even though they deserve equal support from a government that they support with their taxes. But there's a pattern of white supremacist theft of taxpayer-funded government services from Black Americans on the spurious grounds that they are somehow less deserving, or the lie that they disproportionately consume government assistance. So assistance for white-dominated industries or white-dominated fields is often referred to as subsidies. Subsidies is the cover story used to conceal the fact that it's a form of help. It's called welfare if there's a characterization that Black people disproportionately receive something, and it's subsidies if it's white-dominated industries like farming, which is an industry which has Black professionals, but those people are typically lower, smaller enterprises than large white-owned farms. So there's a book I'm keen to read called How the Word is Passed by someone called Clint Smith. And I read a review of it today. He apparently travels around the United States, seeing what stories people tell each other about American history and about the history of slavery. And the question is asked, what kind of a country could we be if more people had an accurate understanding of what transpired throughout the course of modern American history? And that's really interesting. It marries well with another article I read in The Root about senators and a look at the different history textbooks that they would have read growing up in their various states, because some of those history textbooks are very deceitful with regards to how they represent slavery and how they describe the story of what happened. So if you want to know someone, look at what they were taught during their formative years, as well as looking at who they accept money from now, because presumably a lot of them accept money from Christo-fascists, such as the Koch billionaires who were affiliated or whose parents were affiliated with Nazis and who now have massive petrochemical empires that they protect. They protect their profit margins by investing some of their money in purchasing loyalty from various politicians, predominantly Republican politicians, but possibly sometimes Democrats from red states as well. Kimchi says, if you aren't POD, you don't understand American history or current events. What's POD stand for, Kim? That's an acronym that I am racking my brains with regards to, but I don't recall. In the meantime, I'm going to bring up Naomi Osaka and the fact that she has pulled out of the French Open because she's been suffering from depression and she didn't want to have to engage with the media at the French Open. So anyway, somebody called Regan Gomez. Who's Regan Gomez? She's an actor, writer, and director of the Gotham Awards-nominated show Surviving, and a creator of the Reaganomics podcast. Awesome. But she notes what happened to Naomi. She said, I feel like Naomi was very clear in saying that she's been struggling with bouts of depression since 2018. What happened in 2018? She won against her idol. What did she witness the press do to her idol? And what did the press do to her in order to be racist and sexist to her idol? Oh, that's right. This is what the press did. Now, specifically, I will admit with sadness that this is an Australian cartoonist whose work was solicited by and paid for by an Australian newspaper. Let's check who owns the Herald Sun, because I believe it's Rupert Murdoch who owns Fox News. Yep, it's a subsidiary of News Corp Media. Okay, so Rupert Murdoch is paying the cartoonist. I'll make this bigger on the screen. So you can see Serena Williams is being represented as having a tantrum. There's a depiction of a dummy in front of her and a smashed racket. And it's probably hard for you to see, but in the corner, there is a depiction of Naomi Osaka. And the referee is saying to her, can you just let her win? As if she's a younger sibling of Serena Williams, and he's just asking Naomi to just give Serena Williams whatever she wants. So he's demeaning Serena Williams, but Reagan at the moment is drawing attention to how Naomi is depicted as well, that she's depicted as being very slight and having lighter skin color than Serena, even though they are both black. Naomi is black Asian. Her hair was a bit blonde at the time, but they've exaggerated the blonde of her hair, and the cartoonist has made her slighter than her frame is. And he's doing it to heighten a racist contrast that he's drawing between two of them, to say, look how African-American Serena Williams is, and drawing her with these very exaggerated facial features. It's very racist and awful, and I'm so sorry. I remember when this cartoon was published, I had a friend who subscribed to one of Rupert Murdoch's publications, and I said to her, how can you, like, given this? And she said, oh yeah, I also don't like it, and I think that that's racist. But she didn't think it was serious enough that she would stop subscribing to a Rupert Murdoch publication. So we're not. Oh, darling, aren't you going to say bye? Are you taking your son? I don't think he's... Nope, son's still there. He needs to go for a walk. All right. Oh, pissed off is what PO'd stands for. Excellent. Yes. Oh, I think it was James Baldwin who said to be African-American in this country is to be in a permanent state of rage. And I can imagine how that would be true. And I imagine the truth of that insight is more accessible to white people now who witnessed George Floyd's death and torture at the hands of a audaciously confident white police officer who saw that he was being filmed and did not discontinue his activity of murdering a man in broad daylight in front of witnesses. Such was his confidence that white people would have his back and he would not face any consequences through the legal system or in the court of public opinion. He was so confident that people would be able to rationalize the public murder of a black man who was not resisting arrest and was being arrested merely on suspicion of using a fraudulent $20 note. So extrajudicial murder, he thought, would be acceptable to us and would be sufficiently acceptable that he didn't feel any level of physiological arousal that he was being videotaped during commission of a crime, during execution of a crime. So more white people now might understand why James Baldwin would say that to be black in America is to be in a perpetual state of rage, because that would be enraging. So yes, Naomi Osaka might understand that when cartoons like that are published and the publishers don't apologize for it, that that people were prepared to use her part Asian background against her idol Serena Williams. Now, this is a tiny video of Venus Williams at the age of 14 being questioned by someone. And she's saying she's confident, she's prepared to win. And the interviewer is really challenging her as to the foundation of her confidence. And her father loses it and goes over to that journalist and interrupts the interview and tells her that he can't, that is a 14-year-old black girl, and to just allow her to be a kid, rather than saying, you're so confident, why? Are you sure? Like, trying to disrupt her athletic prowess by insinuating that her confidence is too much, is notable. So that might be something that some white people might say, well, he's just asking questions. She's an interview subject. Lots of us might feel like we don't understand. That might just be intuitive to us, that lack of understanding. To a parent of an athlete, it might be easier to understand that he is undermining her psychological game preparation. Her father obviously had big plans for her, and I think the Williams sisters have they distanced themselves from their father? Or am I thinking of another tennis champion? In any case, I'm going to play the video so you can hear for yourself what is said to Venus Williams.
I know I can get it.
Oops.
I know it. Very confident.
Okay.
I know I can get it. I know it. Very confident. Very confident. You say it so easily. Why? Because I believe it.
And let me tell you why. But she said it with so much confidence the first time. But you keep going on and on.
Listen, we can't keep interrupting. I mean, if you want,
You got to understand that you're dealing with an image of a 14-year-old child. And this child gonna be out there playing with your old ass, and we gonna be in the grave. But she say something, we done told you what's happening. You're dealing with a little black kid, and let her be a kid. She'll answer with a lot of confidence. Leave that alone.
very confident.
You say it so easily.
I know I can get it.
I know it. Very confident.
Very confident.
You say it so easily. Why?
Because I believe it.
Okay, so I was just enjoying the journalist being told off. I can see how the journalist would think, hey, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just questioning her. Why are you so confident? Isn't that weird? Isn't that, yeah. Her Venus Williams' father understood that confidence is a foundational skill of her success. So I just want us to remember that when we attempted to say, hey, why is this being queried? Why are we being called racist? Why is this happening? To remember that sometimes our instinctive reaction to something of, there's nothing wrong with this, our opinions can sometimes be incomplete. Our opinions can sometimes be underinformed. That's as true of me as it is for anybody else. I'm just a little bit invested in trying to fix that. Not to say there's a perfect nirvana where my opinions will all be good. That's a claim made often of the left, that it's too prescriptive, it's too didactic. They say, hey, your opinion is wrong, you don't have the right opinion. They say, the left is so communist, they're so into groupthink. Oh, but we understand that opinions are the foundation of policies, are the foundation of action, are the foundation of outcomes. So maybe they're not telling you what to think. They're asking you to make space for some perspectives that can be added to your own perspective. It might even transform your own perspective. They understand that just as politics is additive, so is thinking. And if you insist that your opinion is right and you insist that your opinion remain unchallenged, then you are closing off that space for other people. So I sometimes have trollishly minded people in this space, which is about conserving democracy, but I'll sometimes have very right-wing people come here and say, hey, if I say an opinion that's contrary to yours, you're just going to block me. And I will block them or mute them if they say something that is verifiably untethered from reality. So if they say Joe Biden is senile, when Joe Biden is clearly very astute, on the ball, making great strides in his first term as president, and can give a speech for protracted periods of time with no evidence of any type of cognitive decline, then I say, yeah, this is not a venue for propaganda, for right-wing propaganda or far-left propaganda. If you come in here with unfounded assertions and you're contributing to dispersing propaganda, I'm not going to make space for you to do that here. It's not additive. Lies don't add to perspectives. So insights from people from demographics that are different from my demographic, yeah, I'm happy to accept that as additive and as serving a broader goal of moving towards a more perfect union. Molly is saying she's noticed that Black teenagers are often perceived as adults instead of children. Actually, I stuck in the word often. She's noticed that Black teenagers are perceived as adults instead of children. Even in criminal cases, more Black boys are prosecuted as adults than white boys. Yes, I think there's a lot of research data to support that observation you've made, Molly, that Black boys are responded to as if they're adults, that in terms of pure physicality, they're often perceived to be adults, and that any signs of physical strength or muscularity is fitted into preconceptions that are biased already towards perceiving Black boys as men. That young boy who was shot, and I feel sad that I can't remember his name. 12-year-old boy. Tamir Rice, who had an airsoft replica gun in a park, and a passerby called the police to say that there was a Black man with a gun, and a police officer arrived and shot a 12-year-old boy within, I think, 6 seconds of his car arriving in the park. So Tamir Rice didn't have a chance to comply, and was handcuffed and bled to death in a public park, while his sister was also handcuffed and restrained because she tried to run towards her brother to be with him while he was so clearly injured and what turned out to be his dying moments. So that's always an awful, awful situation to think about, that people are so conditioned, particularly people who are immersed in racist thinking, that Black people are threatening. People who fear a race war, they perpetually fear it. And I think the 100-year anniversary of the Tulsa massacre, which was a white instigated massacre of Black people, to be clear, in Greenwood, Tulsa of Oklahoma, that there are many white people who have a predilection for believing that any potentially racially charged conflict, and I will say that was a justice-oriented conflict. The conflict that precipitated the mass murder of Black people in Tulsa was that white people were trying to lynch a young man in prison who had been charged with assaulting a lift elevator, a 17-year-old white girl, and that there was a lot of sexual fear, a lot of fear of black men want to attack white women. And that type of unsubstantiated fear makes people overreact. But there was a greed to it as well. There was a greed that motivated people to indulge in those fears, because after the white men surrounded the jail in which Derek Rowland was being held, and black armed men turned up to say, we're not going to allow you to lynch Rowland. And then a white man attempted to confiscate a weapon from a black man, and the weapon discharged, and then there was gunfire. So white people and black people died, but white people in the town took it as permission, because they were primed to seek permission. They took it as permission to wage war against the black people of that town and to destroy the black businesses, to use private airplanes to drop kerosene-soaked balls on top of the buildings of black-owned businesses. So that's how you can destroy an area, colloquially referred to in the town as Little Africa or Black Wall Street. The people flying those private planes were wealthy people. You don't own a private plane if you've got economic anxiety. And discussing this historic event is something that puts the lie to racism in America being fueled by economic anxiety. It's not. It's fueled by confected, fabricated, overinflated, irrational fear. And you don't even have to say that fear has a foundation of truth, because it's not true that black men were itching to rape white women. There were lynchings of men for multiple reasons, for voting, but there was always this narrative that no, it's because of raping, whereas research suggested that only 11% of lynchings in the South occurred where rape was even suggested as a motive, and it's likely that where rape was suggested, no rapes actually occurred. So there probably was more of a climate of fear around white women, because white men overreacted so strongly to any suggestion that sexual activity occurred.
Children playing the instrument on it.
Children are playing the instruments. I can't come, darling, I'm broadcasting, but you check it. No, I can't see it from here, there you go. But we'll rewind it. Just check maybe press pause and check what the time is on the video. My daughter's watching a Disney special of Little Mermaid live, and she's excited she can see children playing.
It's nearly the end.
It's nearly the end. Okay, good. So we'll scroll back to that one when we finish this broadcast.
No.
Yeah, we'll check the time. If you press pause, some numbers will come up that will tell you what time. So read the numbers, maybe write the numbers down. Yeah, if you press pause, it will show you the numbers.
No. I paused it and it didn't come up with any numbers.
Oh, maybe press the arrow button. Yes, Marsha says, oh my gosh, planes. This was actually war. Yes, that's a very good point, Marsha. It was a war waged. You know how there's 4 arrows in a little circle, baby? Press the arrow on the right, and you might see the numbers then. And if not, we'll just check and look for it for the children playing instruments, darling. Hi, Mike. My name is, well, my stage name is Davcat, but my real name is Davina, that I've become more comfortable using now that Biden's been in office for a few months, even though I have concerns still about a slow-rolling second insurrection being orchestrated by Republicans who understand that they're associated with a Republican president who, whilst adored by his very rusted-on base of people, is rightly viewed with some concern by other Americans. I mean, Donald Trump was very effective at mobilizing Americans to vote against him. He was very effective at mobilizing, at turning out the vote for Democrats for president, to vote for the president, whereas lots of Republicans still came out, potentially voted for Joe Biden as president, but voted for Republicans in the Senate. Mineral Man is here and says, as a parent, you must be concerned about what is going on in some places in the USA. Which places do you think I should be concerned about, Mineral Man? Because yes, I am concerned. Not just some places. I'm concerned about the pattern of not only voter suppression, but the pattern of Republicans passing laws to allow Republican state officials to overturn election results. So if Democrats win things, they can just say, we don't accept it. We are throwing out these results. And yeah, Donald Trump, Ivanka Trump, somebody else, some Republican has won. They are using the fruits of Donald Trump's labor in deceiving the electorate to create space for themselves to invalidate election results of their opponents. They're using Donald Trump's scaffolding of lies to climb up and pluck the fruit of totalitarianism, to pluck the fruit of lies, to say, yep, we are not going to acknowledge election results. We're going to claim that those results are unsatisfactory, that there's something wrong with them if they are personally not satisfactory to us because we didn't have success with our candidate. We didn't succeed in winning enough votes, so we're going to declare elections fraudulent. And the language they're talking about with the vote as well, making sure it's pure, making sure it's high quality, is the same language that Republicans used, or people who instituted the Jim Crow laws used around the vote to say, oh yes, well, we can't have everybody vote. You just want the purest voters voting. You want high quality voting. So that's why we're instituting a policy of you have to pay a tax, or you have to pay time and energy by memorizing parts of the Constitution, or you have to show that you're good at counting by counting the bubbles on a bar of soap. All of the hoops that white supremacist officials made black voters jump through in order to exercise their right to vote, and therefore their ability to amass collective political power, and consequently to be served by the government in appropriate ways for the position they occupy in communities. So blacks taxpayers, if they were stopped from voting, couldn't have officials elected that would say, hey, black communities need to be serviced as well. Black communities cannot go underserved. Their schools should not be run down relative to white schools. They should have adequate garbage collection services, and all of those things that you should have if you have equal protection under the law and equal attention, equal positive, helpful attention from your government. So instead, Republicans like to pretend that the government doesn't serve anybody anyway, that the government's irrelevant to life, that there's values of self-sufficiency and hard work, and that government is a concept inherently contradictory to values of self-sufficiency. All of it's rubbish. How can you be self-sufficient in a modern society if there is not a government collectively funded infrastructure of garbage collection, road maintenance, airports, things that facilitate opportunity, things that facilitate the go-get-'em American spirit, just any type of spirit? You cannot claim to support modern America if you continually deride the idea of government-provided services, because that's just a way of saying some elements of collective infrastructure, building hospitals, building schools, building transport systems, facilitates growth, it's the catalyst for American synergy, the catalyst for synergy anywhere in the world, for productive accomplishments, and is the foundation of any success that America enjoys. Marsha is struggling with how to process this. Well, let's have some photos, Marsha, so that we can have respectful moments to grieve, I guess, and to process. But this is why it's actually galvanizing and energizing for me. It was during the Trump administration. If I felt discomforted by Trump still being in office, if I was distraught at how many policy changes he was making to, say, open up drilling licenses in the Arctic, if I saw the voices of Black people who said, we have faced intractable hardship before, we have faced implacable opposition to people who said, it's not the status quo, it's indulgent to suggest that Black people should have equal civil rights to white people, don't mess with what isn't broke, don't allow them to vote, etc. Things are fine the way they are. Just imagine getting up every day and finding the energy to continue to fight against people who are happy to say that you should exist. You and people who share your skin color should be happy and content to exist on a sub-tier of the American hierarchy, and that suggesting otherwise is somehow ungrateful and anarchic on your part. So for that reason, we're going to look at photos together. Bob is here. Hello, Bob. So I'm just going to bring up these photos now. I think I tried to do this yesterday, but it didn't quite happen. Okay. Oh, no, this is not what I want. This is illustrations of how people are commemorating the massacre 100 years on, which is also going to be moving. I guess we'll see it because these are not the black and white photos I wanted to show you, but we'll get to that next. So here's a mural showing the burnt town. Oh, that's Dreamland Theatre. That was a very profitable theatre, business owned and operated by a Black woman. Oh, this is going to be hard. Okay. Oh, these are the three survivors, the three remaining survivors. So it's estimated 300 people were killed, but 10,000 also were made homeless. And I would say destitute as well. If you burn not only their homes, but you burn all of the businesses nearby as well, then you are creating conditions for people to be destitute. Oh, that's Greenwood on the left after a thunderstorm, and on the right is an image of the devastation of the Tulsa massacre from the documentary Rebuilding Black Wall Street, which was shown on a drive-in movie screen. This has some flowers. Flowers lie on the Stonehill Memorial to mark the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa massacre. Beautiful flowers. Sandpipe Hill. That is Viola Fletcher, the oldest known living survivor of the Tulsa massacre. Members of the Black Panther Party and other armed demonstrators rally in the Greenwood district during commemorations of the 100th anniversary. Oh, people are playing the tuba. I guess this is a marching band. A band marches through residential streets during commemoration. She's adding soil. Viola Fletcher is adding soil to a jar. Okay. All right, I'm going to share some more original photos now from the actual event. Not the anniversary itself, just from the aftermath of the massacre. So Greenwood District was a mecca for Black entrepreneurship and home to a vibrant community of upper and middle class Black families who embodied the optimism of the American dream. With the city of Tulsa thoroughly segregated, the central hub of the Greenwood District became known as Black Wall Street for its economic strength and influence. All right, but there were other Wall Streets around. But yes, at the eruption of violence, civil officials selected many men, all of them white and some of them participants in that violence, and made those men their agents as deputies. Under the watch of these newly ordained police officers, white mobs proceeded to torch the Greenwood District, stealing valuables and killing all those who resisted. The report goes on. Not one of these criminal acts was then or ever prosecuted or punished by government at any level, municipal, county, state, or federal. For nearly a century, these events would be described as the Tulsa Race Riots, although this name does not accurately account for the mass murder and destruction of property inflicted upon an entire community of Black citizens. In recent years, many are looking to the Tulsa Massacre with renewed perspective on the legacy of racially motivated hate in the US. The massacre was once again placed in the forefront of the national conversation on race when Trump scheduled a campaign rally in Tulsa on the June 19th holiday of Juneteenth, which commemorates the end of slavery in the US. He then rescheduled his rally. All right. So let's see the pictures. Okay, so you can see that there are some walls left, and you can see that various buildings have been burnt. This is a lot of Black men, and you can see that there are men with guns who are walking beside them, because when the massacre was being, when civil order was being returned, civil order was restored by National Guards detaining approximately 6,000 Black men. So the Tulsa Convention Hall was turned into a detention center. So these are unarmed Black men being marched by National Guard troops carrying rifles with bayonets attached. So, yes. This is people looking through the burned rubble of what remains of their home after the massacre. So there are some children and there's some adults, and I guess they're looking for any metal things or any things that have survived. That image says this image is too graphic to reveal. I know it's an image of someone who died. Okay. Sorry. That is a body of a Black man on the ground beside train tracks following the Tulsa Massacre. This is a picture which illustrates the degree to which property was destroyed. As you can see, it's a big street. There's a lot of buildings here. And the private airplanes dropping turpentine-soaked balls was critical in burning all of those businesses to the ground. There are the businesses before they were burned, with the beginnings of the conflagration. You can see the smoke. 35 quarter-acre blocks were destroyed. That is a That is a church left in ruins. Sorry. Yep, church. Yeah. So you can see the men with their hands up, and the writing on that picture says captured Negro on way to Convention Hall during Tulsa race riot. On the right is a picture that says Negro slain in Tulsa riot. Are these postcards? Yeah, they've pictures used as postcards. Okay. Clouds of black smoke rise over the rubble of buildings destroyed in the massacre. Okay. East Greenwood Avenue and East Archer Street. Oh, how interesting, because I guess photos took longer to take. You can see people have walked through this shot while it's being taken, so there's some feet there. Just like the Holocaust, you used to argue with your parents that they didn't protest what was going on. You didn't know we had our own Holocaust to protest. Yes, on a scale, this is not entirely the same, but it is the same sentiment of genocide when you have so much unnecessary antagonism that white people felt emboldened to do this to the black neighborhood in Tulsa. Oh, injured and wounded men are taken to the hospital by National Guard troops on June the 3rd. The white men, their faces look kind of mean. Am I projecting? But look at the cheekbones of the man on. Oh, you can't see that. There's a man on the right side of that photograph. I can't make it fill the whole page. But anyway, and the man with the black rifle towards the right also. Okay, anyway, we don't need my emotional projections onto this. This is in the hospital. Inside the ARC hospital, where patients injured during the Tulsa massacre are being treated months later. Okay. Detained residents are transported in Tulsa. In June 1921, a man holding a rifle sits on the running board. Okay, yep, I can see the man with the rifle towards the right side, and I can see a woman sitting there in the back of a car. Okay, all right, so that's what we've looked at today. Yes, Molly says, I can't even perceive that amount of hatred for a people. So we can see that hatred is such a dangerous commodity. It's useful to people. The right side of politics often has people who say, don't be so nice that you give up on hate. You've got to hate your enemies. And compassionate people are weak. Don't give up on hate. But the left will say, well, we can see the dangers of being too quick to hate, the dangers of jumping at shadows as enemies, the dangers of fabricating a foe when you're just living near people who want to live their lives, that hate can be infected with greed. Look at the greed of people who said, yes, if we go into black little Africa and shoot those people and burn their businesses to the ground, then it'll make us feel wealthier by contrast. And who knows, maybe we can cheaply buy that land that has been devastated, because those homeless people will need to entirely move out of this area, and they might even go to a different state. And of course, the direct greed of the white people who looted the black businesses and black homes. People have had memories of hiding under a table with the tablecloth pulled down so that they were concealed, while white men destroyed a piano in part of the house, destroyed her sister's piano. I read that witness account. And that woman moved to another state. Her mother said, we have to leave it behind us. We can't flourish if we hold on to what happened. And she did flourish, and she got a master's degree in psychology, and she specialized in the history of Tulsa. People managed to still flourish, but other people... Yes, Dad?
It's a whole movie.
Would you like me to come and watch the end part of it with you again?
No, it already finished.
We could rewind it. I didn't really want to watch it, baby. You wanted to watch it. Do you want me to come back and watch a bit of it with you?
You first introduced me to it, and you said, "Oh, I want to watch that."
Yeah, I know, but you did want to watch it. Mummy didn't want to watch it so much.
And why do you want to introduce me?
We both saw it when we turned on the Disney Channel, baby. I didn't make you watch it, but I can.
No, I didn't see it. Just
We both saw it. It flashed up on screen. Okay, I guess I did express excitement. I was excited by the concept of The Little Mermaid live, but it was too much of the original movie with little bits of live performances. And I read that review and I was like, yeah, I'm not really. And I knew I had to do my broadcast. I do my broadcast every day, most days. Do you want to wave hi to the Hey, do you want to wave hi to the sweetheart? I know it's hilarious, but Mummy's not a bit. Do you want to go to your room? Not anymore, baby. I know I said it was funny, but it's not really funny.
not.
It was funny for a few
Yeah,
seconds.
it's not funny.
And
It's
if
not
you,
funny. Yeah.
sweetheart, I will send you to your room if you do that again, okay? You're already on a grey dot now. Don't do it again. Okay. Now, we still got some tasks to do for school. I'm going to let you have a big break.
I'm already excited.
Yeah, you've got to go do a spelling activity.
No, make all the best.
I know, I'm sorry, Mr. Bits. You want to cut off? I missed the children playing instruments. I'm going to rewind it and have a look at that bit, okay? So I'll say goodbye. Bye, everybody. Kim's going to bed. Thank you. I'm going to wave goodbye. Let me wave. No, don't do this. Not that. I want to say goodbye nicely, okay? Bye, everybody. Take care. And I'm going to go watch a little bit of The Little Mermaid where children play instruments as well. I don't even know what instruments they play, but apparently...
I think it was like this instrument.
Trumpet?
No, not the trumpet. Not
The flute? Was it long?
no, not long. It's like down like this way and then up like this way.
A triangle? Did they...
No, down like this way, up like this way, down like this way, up.
I'm
like
curious.
this
I'll have to see. So, saxophone? No.
down like this way, up like this way, down like this way, up like this way. And like it's like actually was like
Do they blow it with their mouth? How do they play it?
blow it with your mouth.
Okay. So it could be a saxophone. Could be a flute. Could be
No,
a trumpet.
not
Could
a
be a
flute.
trumpet. Oh, does it go out like this?
No,
No.
it's like
Anyway, I'm saying goodbye. Marsha is saying goodbye. Kim's goodbye. Everybody needs to go to bed. Thank you, Molly, Kim, Marsha, Mineral Man, and anybody else?
Yeah. Can you get off now?
Yes. Oh, and Eugene was here and said a great discussion
He said
award.
goodbye.
I don't-
Why are you not off? Saying goodbye when you're not going.
Take care,
Time.
everybody.
Go.
Oh, I'm gonna fix your
Go
hair.
down. Go. Okay, how do you leave the thing?
You click on. You can use the left button to click.
Oh,
There you go, and then you move the button over to there, and see where it says end. No, you have to move the
yeah,
little
I'm
mouse.
moving it.
Moving the mouse. Do you want to say goodbye, everybody, as well? Say